The following program is a public access production of Sherry Wicks and Laughing Child Productions, who assume full responsibility for its content. The content of this program does not represent the views of East Bridgewater Community Television, which serves as a forum for community expression and offers TV training, production facilities, and channel time to all East Bridgewater residents and organizations. Hello, my name is Sherry Wicks, and I'm the host of Scrapbooking on a Budget. You may notice that we are not in the studios at East Bridgewater Community Television. This is our Christmas special, and so because of it's our special, we're doing it in my home. So, welcome to my home. The good thing is that I have my tools and all my equipment right here with me, but the downside is that you may be getting a visit from a very hairy beast named Jean-Luc, also known as Heinous Beast. Now, that's the dark furry one. There's also a white fluffy one who may come and visit. She loves to eat the greenery around the tree. So, if you can put up with that, great, because this is going to be a fun show, and I really hope you stick with me because we're going to learn a lot, and we're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to get ready for the holidays. One of the first things that I'm going to do, though, I'm going to teach you how to make this, actually. This little pocket. It's a little gift pocket. And it comes in different sizes, but I'm going to teach you how to make just the basic one, and you can go from there. But it holds some goodies, and I thought this would be a really nice idea for teacher gifts or little favors for when people come to your home for any holiday party, any little dessert gathering or something you may have. So we're going to make this, and also we're going to make this little Santa's wish list ornament. And I know all of you out there have something very special that you want Santa to bring you. So I'm going to show you how to make this ornament, and then you'll be able to put it on your tree. And after Santa brings you that very special item, you're going to be able to put it in your scrapbook back in the page where we're going to be making later in the segment, okay? So stick with us, okay? There's a lot left in the show, and keep your eyes out for the dark furry beast and the white fluffy beast. So stay with us, we'll be right back. Thanks now. Here we are, we're in my family room again, and we are going to learn how to make this little craft pocket. Now, this is different from the one I showed you on the tree, and I'll tell you why. This was the very first one that I saw. A couple of months ago, I went to a craft class. It was a scrapbooking class, and a friend of mine was hosting it, and she gave everyone who attended this little pocket filled with some little candies, and it was just so cute, and I was just intrigued with it because it was such a simple idea, but it could be turned into so many things. It was so simple, but so versatile. So the next day was Sunday, and I'm sitting in church, and I'm thinking, oh, how can I do that? So I tore my bulletin into a square, and I started trying to fold it. And I know you're not supposed to do that, but I was doing it wrong because I kept trying to go up like that, and that's not right. So finally, church was over, and I got home, and I came home, and I tore it apart, and I go, oh, I was doing it wrong. That's what you get for doing crafts in church. So it's very simple to make. So this was the little pocket that started it all. So having showed you that, we're going to get on to the real Christmas ones, okay? Now, this paper that I'm using is from a company called Cosmo Cricket, and it's wonderful paper, but the beauty of this is that it's double-sided. And to make the pocket so that just to make it better, you need to use double-sided paper. But in the event you don't have double-sided paper, I'm going to show you how to work around that, because this is a wonderful little project for using up those odds and ends of paper that are left over from other projects and other pages that you're just never going to use again, but it's too big to throw away. So this is the pocket that we're going to actually use in the page we're going to do later. And it's made from a 6 by 6 inch square, which is this size. But for demonstration purposes, I'm going to use the 8 by 8 square just so you can see it a little bit better. Now, again, this is double-sided paper, so you need to decide what you want your dominant color to be. In this case, I folded it so that the solid color was on the outside. See, it's solid. And the printed side is what's on the inside. But I really like this outside, so I'm going to do it just the opposite. I want the red to be on the inside, so I'm going to fold it so that the red is indeed on the inside. Now, it's very important when you're making these cuts that you do them very precisely. This needs to be a square, 8 by 8 square, because if you don't have it perfectly square, your points are not going to be crisp. And to make it work on the scrapbooking page, you need to have crisp corners. And all this is going to make sense once you see the page, but just bear with me. And keep in mind, it really needs to be a crisp cut. Now, you need a ruler for this. So open it back up, and you are going to measure 3.5 inches from the corner, from the top corner. If you're holding it in a diamond position, it's your top corner. So you just want to put a little pencil mark at the 3.5 point mark. And flip it over, and we're going to do the same thing, 3.5. By doing this, it's going to help you, everything's going to meet correctly, and I'll show you how that works. So we're just going to draw a line that joins these two little marks. No, actually, we're not going to draw a line because it would show. We're going to use a letter opener and just make a score across on the ruler. And what we're doing is we're just putting a little groove in the paper so that we can see it and that it'll fold better. So, all right, now I'm going to fold it back up, flip it over, and where you have that score line, you're going to fold it down. Now, I hope you can see this, but what you have here is a perfect 3.5 by 3.5 inch square. If you're making these and you notice this is off, remeasure, because it's very important that this be straight. All right, so now we have this. Just flip it back up and you've got your line. We're going to bring this corner, the left corner, over, and we want the corner, this corner, the outside corner, to meet just where the score line is. So we're going to press it and pull it across. There we go. So you see I've got this little wing flap. It just comes over and I've pressed it. Now, same thing with the other side. I'm going to take the right corner, and I'll make sure my crease is there so I know where to fold. And we're going to just pull it up. See, we're pulling it up so that it's even with that score line. And that's good and even. Oops, I got to get right on it there. All right, so now I'm just going to take the handle of my letter opener and just kind of crease it so that it, it stays in place nicely. You don't really need to put any glue or, anything on this at any of the right here. But when you get to this part, you may want to put some glue on it. But this is why it is so critical that your points be crisp and your square be exactly right. You want this point to be right in the middle. So it's critical that your points be sharp and your square be true. So this is your basic pocket. It's really easy to make. Open it up. See, you can put all kind of stuff in there. Not only candy, but gift cards. This is kind of a big for a gift card, but you can adjust the sizes. Now, if you want to do a smaller one, I'm going to just walk you through it real fast. Let's see. Yeah, I want the printed. No, I'm just going to show you what it looks like to have it red. So I'm going to flip it the other way, and we're going to come up here and you're going to fold it into a triangle. going to fold the square in half diagonally. And we want those points to be crisp, yeah. All right, now with a 6-inch square, you only come down 2.5 inches, okay? Remember with the 8-inch square, it was 3.5 inches. But with a 6-inch square, you want to come down 2.5 inches. So there is my 2.5 inch mark there. And we're going to make one on the other side. And again, we're going to join those 2 small pencil marks with a scored line, and I'm just using a letter opener. You can also use a ballpoint pen that the ink has run out of, because it will also make a nice score. Okay, so we've done that part. We flip it over, and again, on the fold line, or the score line, we're going to fold it back. All right, you see, there's our nice 2.5 inch square this time. So we're going to pull the left corner over. I'm going to pull it right up to that score line. And this is lightweight cardstock, so you have to kind of manipulate it a little bit, kind of manhandle it, but it makes for a nice little pocket when you use this weight paper. All right, so, and again, I'm going to take the handle and just kind of burnish the folds so that they stay nice and crisp. All right, here's the moment of truth. We're going to fold this down, and if I did everything right, yep, see, everything meets in the center, nice and symmetrical. So this is a good little pocket. Okay, now we've done that, and I want to talk a little bit of how to embellish it. I have vintage buttons, and you know I love buttons, and I never like to put a button on anything unless it's been unless it looks like it's been stitched on. And the easiest way to do that is just to thread, in this case, raffia. Just going to pull it through, and you're just going to make a little crisscross. It's really easy to do, especially with raffia that's this thick. And raffia is wonderful stuff. So we're going to pull this one across and we'll trim it. I'm not going to do all that. And all right, and then we can actually just tie a little square knot. So that was left over right, and now I'm going to do right over left, and that makes our little square knot. Okay, then just trim it. And you really don't want your tails to go past the button, because then the proportion's off, so just trim it. I hope you can see that. But at this point, we're going to use some of our double-sided tape, and if you've been watching the show at all, you know that I use a lot of double-sided tape. I was at our local scrapbook store today, and I replenished my stock because I use so much of it. But this is wonderful stuff. It's super sticky, and it'll stick just about anything. In fact, a friend of mine was over last night in my studio, and she had found an antique nail when they were redoing their floor, and she wanted to know how to use it in a scrapbook page. So I showed her how to use it as part of her title, and then I showed her how to use double-sided tape to actually stick it onto her page. So needless to say, she was thrilled. All right, and then you peel off the backing, the little red part, you can just stick it on. All right, and then we're going to put, you know what? This one's not going into a scrapbook page, so I'm just going to use a glue stick. Save my good scrapbooking adhesive, and I'm just going to run a little bit just to stick it down. And there. Okay. Now we need to have a hanger for it, and to do that, we can just use a little bit of scrap paper. You know, when you have shipping labels, they have that reinforced hole, and that's kind of a cool look, so that's what we're going to do here. We're just going to reinforce it a bit and make it a little square. And again, it's not going in a scrapbook, so I'm just going to use some of my craft glue from a glue stick. I'm just going to pop it on right there. So you see it looks like that little reinforced square on a shipping tag. And then ordinary hole punch. And we're just going to come to the middle and punch out a hole. So there's our little hanger, and it's reinforced, so it's going to be able to hold, you know, a substantial amount of candy, or, you know, a gift card, or, you know, whatever you want to put in there. So just thread it through. And again, we have too much, so I'm just going to trim it off. And just for this part, just tie an overhand knot. I'm going to pull it all through. Well, raffia tends to split until you get all these little odd pieces that sort of sometimes don't want to come through. So, all right, there we go. Pull it tight. And again, you don't want too much tail, so just trim it. All right, and there is your little pocket that can be used for gift cards or candies, teacher gifts. I really think this would be really cool for a teacher gift, and put a Dunkin' Donuts card in it. Okay, that's the big one. Now we're going to make the Santa wish list ornament. And I've already filled this one out because this is the one that says Sherry wants. And I hope all my Santas are listening because my list is very specific this year. But let me show you how to make your Santa wish list, okay? We're going to start with a square that is 2.5 by 2.5 inches. Now remember I said when we made the 6-inch square pocket that we came down 2.5 inches? There's a relationship here. So this needs to be 2.5 inches, okay? So you have your little square. Now also, remember I like to ink the edges. And do you remember why I like to do that? It's because when you darken the edge, you create a visual barrier between the item and its background. And what that does, it adds texture and dimension and makes your item pop off the page. And we always want things to pop and, you know, make our work look dimensional and not static or flat. So we're going to just put that out of the way. All right. This is a dye-based ink as opposed to a pigment ink. The dye-based inks are supposed to be quicker drying, but this is a very high quality ink pad, and it's very juicy, so it's been not drying as rapidly as I'd want it to. So I'm just going to kind of flap it around a little bit. Now, you'll notice that this part has been printed on. And I did this on my computer. Well, not the handwriting part, but the Sherry wants and the numbers and the lines. This is a font called Celt, and I really liked it because it was kind of Christmassy without being Old English Christmassy. I believe it's a standard font with your word processing packages. But if it's not, just, you know, it can be downloaded for free, because if it's in there, I certainly didn't pay for it. So it would be one of the free downloads. But try it. Now, so that's, this is the big point. I did not print on this little square of paper. When I'm showing you how to do the scrapbooking page, I'm going to show you how I got all the labels I needed from one sheet of paper, and it just ran it through my printer at one time, okay? But right now, let's just, you know that this is computer done, all right? So we have little bits of paper, and yours, hopefully your list is going to be bigger than this, but for demonstration purposes, you're just going to put that right over. And this is going into my scrapbook page. So I'm going to use real scrapbooking adhesive with this, because you know everything that goes into our scrapbooks, including the scrapbooks themselves, need to be acid-free, lignin-free, and PVC-free. Now, I've been saying that for months, and a friend of mine actually called me on it because I use a lot of embellishments that obviously are not totally legitimate for archival or conservator purposes. And I do that because I really enjoy the embellishments and the texture that ribbons and things like that add. However, when I'm working with vintage photographs, I am a stickler for the rule about acid-free, lignin-free, and PVC-free. The ribbons could have formaldehyde as part of the finishing process. So, you know, use your judgment. Don't get hung up on any one thing, but a friend of mine did call me on it. So All right, we're working on our little Santa wish list ornament, and we've gotten this far. And again, I've used a vintage button. This is actually a little shell button, and when I found it in the bag, it still had the stitching on it, so someone had actually cut it off a blouse or something. This is probably 50, maybe even 100 years old. But I used to be a professional crafter, and I have tons of stuff like this around, and I want to use it. But again, I don't like to put buttons on that don't look like they're stitched. So I'm just going to use some gold thread. And the reason I'm using gold thread, and you may think it's kind of odd with these country papers, is that I love the contrast between country primitive colors and just a touch of gold. I think it adds so much interest when there's that unexpected element. So when we get to the scrapbooking page, you'll see that I've used gold as my accent color with these country colors. So I'm just stitching around, and I don't know if you can see that, but now it looks like the button's been stitched on. And a tip, this thread is really fine, so instead of threading it once and just going through the buttonholes, a million times so that it would show up, I actually put 3 strands through my needle, so I only have to go through a couple of times. Little time-saving tip there for you. And then now I'm just tying an overhand knot. And then we will trim it. We don't want our fancy stitching to come undone. So just trim it so that it doesn't show from from the front. So trim it not too close, but just so it doesn't show. And again, we're going to use the double-sided tape. And this is stuff that comes in a variety of widths. This is the 1/4 inch. It comes in 1/8 inch, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, and full sheets. Now, a lot of people who like to put beading on their scrapbook pages use this because that's how strong the stuff is. All right, I'm just going to put my double-sided tape on the back of my button. And I'm going to kind of rub it on the table to make sure it gets good and stuck down. And you'll see that there's a bit of a pink backing, and that's what has to come off. There, you just lift that off. Now the sticky side is still on my button. So I'm going to set that aside for just a moment because we need to get our little ribbon tab ready. And I hope you can see this. This is an incredible color. It's sort of a seafoam green, but again, it's some vintage ribbon that I found. And I was so amazed with how well it coordinated with this country paper. Seafoam green is obviously not a traditional Christmas color, but it works so well with these muted tones, and I was just delighted to find it. So we're going to cut a little piece about 2 inches, or maybe 2.5. And because it does tend to fray, I'm cutting it at an angle. And again, going to use a bit of double-sided tape. And we just need a smidgen, but we're going to put double-sided tape on both sides. So right there. Okay, that's one side. And then peel off the pink backing, and this is where fingernails really come in handy. Well, all right, let's stick the sticky part down again. There we go. All right. A little tedious, but well worth it. And then we're going to just press that down, and then we're going to flip it over. And I hope as you're watching me do this, you're getting all kinds of ideas for the papers that you can use. Again, you can use your scraps. It's real simple. One idea I had was have them made in advance, and while all your family's sitting at the Thanksgiving table, pass these out so that you kind of have a jump start and you know what they're kind of looking for. All right, and I'm just going to put my ribbon back over that last piece. So now we're at this point, and obviously this is where the button comes in. And we're just going to put the button over the end of the velvet ribbon just so it's showing. So there's your basic little Santa wish list ornament. All right. Oh, let me show you something else. I've added some more bling to my ornament, and these little dots right here. I'll be showing you how to use that. It's one of my new favorite projects, or new favorite products, and it is available locally. So I need to get set up for the scrapbooking page, so I need you to hang on, stay with me, and I'll be right back, okay? Thanks now. Welcome back. You know, my production staff has just told me that we are almost out of time, so I'm going to move really quickly to get through this next segment. But if you have missed something, please email me at budgetscrapper@comcast.net, and I will be happy to explain anything you may have missed, okay? Now, I did mention that I was going to show you a trick on how to deal or how to make the little pocket if you only had single-sided paper. So I've made the pocket, but you see it was only single-sided. This isn't very pretty. So the answer to this is this is an 8-inch square. Cut a 3.5 by 3.5 inch square and slide it in. And of course you'll want to glue it. And then you can cut either same paper or a contrasting paper. Again, a 3.5 by 3.5 inch square. Slide it in and meet your folds. And there's your pocket using single-sided paper, okay? Very simple. Now, I also promised you that we were going to have a scrapbook page, and here it is. I want to point out, now remember we made these little pockets already. So here's our pocket, and here's our Santa wish list ornament. The reason that everything had to be so precise was that in order to get everything to meet like a quilt block, that's why you had to have such precise measurements. Everything after, people write down their wish list, put on your tree, you're done with Christmas, pop it in here, and you have a record of what everyone wanted for Christmas. Another thing I want to point out on this page, scrolls, flourishes, swirls, these are really hot right now. They are so popular. They're on almost every line of paper that's coming out right now has some type of scroll or flourish on them. And I want to show you how to make this very simply. I have a template that I received as a promotional gift at a scrapbooking event several years ago, but it has this wonderful scroll line. And very simply use the brush end of a acid-free scrapbooking marker, and you go on the inside and the outside of the template, so you get a nice wide line, okay? Then to start over on this side, see it goes here and here. You flip it over, and there we go, we're headed right now. And then we're just going to get inside and outside, so we get a nice wide line. All right, and we're just going to keep going. All right, you get the idea. Now, one product that I really want to talk to you about, it's my absolute new favorite product. It's available at our local scrapbooking store. It's $1.99. $1.99 worth of incredible fun. This stuff is called Stickles. And it's like the old-fashioned dimensional paint that I used to use when I was doing fabric painting and stuff, but this is so cool. We're just going to put some dots. And it's easy to use. Just squeeze and touch. Squeeze and touch. And you see, we've tied all the gold in to the lettering and the swirls. We're out of time. Thanks so much for visiting with me in my home. Happy holidays. I'll see you next year. Bye now.